Hey y'all, welcome to the Devon A. Morris Unfiltered Call-In Show. Have a seat. Let's get ready. You have any questions? Come on, call in. Come on to that Discord channel. Do me a favor, get the unfiltered crew some finger snaps. We're ready to get started here. Mondays, 8 p.m. Every single Monday, we're here. I'm excited about it. Are you? Let's get this show started, y'all. The greatest scrum show on earth. I'll see y'all soon. Enjoy. Hello. How you doing? Devon Morris, the Unfiltered Call-In Show. Like, subscribe, click the notification buttons. Let me move back a little bit so I'm not all the way in the screen because I'm actually standing up, so I can't. This is not a chair situation. So anyway, Devon Morris, the Unfiltered Call-In Show. We talk about Agile, Scrum, entrepreneurship, those kind of things. So if you have any questions about that, hey, you should actually phone in. I'll give you all that information later. I'm turning on stuff, just kind of still preparing for the show. So just getting things a little bit ready, but hopefully you all have been doing well since the last time I've seen you. I'm going to say, hey, say hi. Say hi. You understand? Say hi. Drop it in the chat. Say hi to me so that I at least know who's out here, right? Whether you're out there on LinkedIn or you're out here on YouTube with us, go ahead and just say hi. So then we're good to go. Hey, Goodwin, how's it going? Hopefully everything is going good with you, Goodwin. I normally give shout outs to everybody, so I'll shout out people as we kind of go through it. But today is going to be a very interesting day. We got an actual good topic here. Our topic is going to be something I haven't talked about, actually something that was requested by someone, right? And that is customer journey maps. Customer journey maps. I wrote some stuff up because I'm doing a CSP SM this week, and so I wrote some stuff up for that because I presented in that. But I want to make sure that I talk to you all about it today. So I'm over here trying to get that thing going so I can show it to you and switch things out as we need to. But we're actually looking good, feeling good. Things for me this week have been beautiful. Things for me have been absolutely beautiful. I've been traveling. Well, last week I was traveling. This week, no travels. But last week I was traveling, and it was nice being out there on the road, hit Tulsa, hit Florida, White Sands down in Destin. It was good. I really enjoyed it. So, and y'all saw me out in Destin because I was there that night, right? So that's why I was last week, right? And so just a good time out there doing some good work with people. Okay, so having fun and got to make some other commitments. So just looking forward to it, man. Let's see. I got to look at my calendar and take care of some things for some people. I just haven't had the time. This weekend I had to really reskin the entire CSP deck that I have, because things changed from 2017 to 2020. And I did it before the learning objectives. So I did it and, we had everything in there, but it just didn't feel right. And so I had to go in this weekend and really do some work on it. So doing that work, it was worth it. It's turned out to be something amazing. So if you're not a CSP yet, you should come on and join us one day. Right? You got to become an ACSM first. You got to be a CSM before that. But you should join us one day, right? Nothing but fun times, right? So I'm having a good time. It's just first day. Having a really good time on the first day. So once again, I'll make sure we say hi. So make sure you jump out there and say hi. I see Amber. How you doing, Amber? Once again, Goodwin, how's it going? Hopefully you're doing just fine, Goodwin. Hey, Rajiv, I see you in the house. So I see several people here waving to say hi. So that's definitely one of those many good things. But it's always good stuff that's happening around here, right? So how do we operate here? What we pretty much do is we talk about a topic for about 10, 15 minutes. And then after that, we open the floor for if you have any questions. If you got questions, we'll jump into those questions. You can drop them in the chat or you can join me live on the show. It's completely up to you. Just know that the show takes priority. So if you try to join us on the show, just know that takes priority over anything else. Okay. So just know that. So then we can be good to go. And we'll talk about that stuff a little bit more later. Today's topic is an interesting topic. It's just customer journey maps. That's all it really is, right? And distinguishing that from other things. And I created a slide, and then I found a graphic that will be able to help us out with it. Okay. So Evelyn, how you doing? Hopefully everything's going good with you, Evelyn. So it's nice to see you. Hopefully you are making things happen in life. Cynthia, how you doing, Ms. Davis? PMI Chicagoland volunteer. I used to be a part of PMI Chicago. Yeah, that was when I was up in Chicago. I got my PMP while I was in Illinois. And being from Chicago, that's part of what you do. So I was like, it's a big chapter, man. It was a big chapter back then, and I guess it's probably way bigger, right? So let's jump into this topic. Let's jump into this topic, right? Customer journey maps. Customer journey maps have been around for some time, okay? Definitely something that people would more associate with UX, user experience. And that association seems to be a good association, right? Because user experience, especially when you have front end stuff that touch the user, tends to be stuff that falls in that UX house, right? And when I say UX, I mean user experience for those who do not know. Now, the thing about it, when you start really, really just sitting back and you just sit on your hands a little bit and you say to yourself a couple things, right? Today, customer needs, the business, the world is changing so much, right? So getting an understanding of customer needs, what they want, what they're experiencing, is absolutely necessary. It is required if you plan to conduct any reasonable business, right? And it is critical that you understand how you as a business owner, how you as someone that's leading Scrum teams in some kind of way, you as an Agilist, when you think to yourself, customer collaboration over contract negotiation, when you think working software over comprehensive documentation, when you think every single sprint you're supposed to deliver a working product, when you start thinking that, how do you know what's the right thing? How do you know what the right thing is that you're supposed to deliver, right? So if you can find a way to gain a deeper understanding of the users or the customers or the persona's journey, then you make your life easier, right? And so what is a customer journey map or a journey map or persona map, a user journey map? What is that thing, right? All it is a visual interpretation of the customer's journey. That's all it is. It gives you an idea of what the customer is experiencing with you in mind, with how you're going to interact with that customer or have touch points with that customer along the way, right? Because there's some interaction that happens between you and them. So it's good to understand where you engage with them, so you can try to find a way to make that engagement as seamless as possible. You can show them that engagement means something to you as well. So when you start thinking about it, let me just take it over to Scrum, right? Product owner. Is this not a good thing to understand? It absolutely is, because understanding that user, the persona, the customer's journey is what it's all about. I mean, journey mapping, right, is getting at the heart of where the customer is at. You can start to empathize with that customer, right? Because what you're doing is you're doing something that is really, really important, and that is you're putting yourself in the customer's shoes. You're literally putting yourself in the customer's shoes. And that's what you want to be able to do. You want to be able to walk in their shoes. You want to be able to put yourself in their position. And here's the deal. Truth of the matter is, I'm a past developer. And as a past developer, we rarely saw the customer. And a lot of people who do the building process, they never get a chance to interact with the customer. And so you want to make it a very specific thing to make sure that those interactions happen, to find a way for those interactions to happen, right? But if you can't make those things happen, a journey map would be helpful, because you can give them that journey map and give them a full perspective, okay? So I'm going to talk through the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 steps in terms of journey mapping, from how I know it, from how I've learned it, from how I utilize it. Different places will give you different ideas on how to do it, but this is an idea of what it is coming from me. How you doing, Miss White? Welcome. All right, so I'm going to show you something, and let me make sure I can get this right, so then we're good to go. Make sure it's all connecting. All right, and let me make a change here because it don't want to just show up for me. So I'm gonna let this show up, and I'm gonna show you a slide, right, to make my life a little bit easier, make your life a little bit easier. I'm gonna show you a slide, okay? Now, what you see here is not anything complicated, okay? The bold is the steps in terms of the map. Nothing really complicated in terms of the steps. That very, very first step is to define the persona. You really want to define the personas. Each persona that's going to have some interaction, you actually want to define those personas, right? A persona is an archetype. Most of you all would know that. We utilize personas all the time within the Agile world. It's just part of what we do. Even when you think about a user story, there's some idea of a user. So we have a good understanding of users, and we use that all the time in terms of this space. So just know you start there first, right? What you want to do is you want to build each persona's backstory. Learn about each one of those personas. Give people an idea of what that story is for the actual persona. You want to make sure you understand their motivations, their needs, their behaviors, because that's going to help you with your map in understanding that. Your map has to have a limited scope, right? There has to be a particular scope that your map is only mapping. You can try to map every interaction and it will become confusing. But the idea is that you gotta determine what the scope of your map is, and you gotta set the stage for anyone that's gonna be involved. Once you've defined the personas, the true second step is to identify all the touch points. And the touch points are interactions between each persona and the business, okay? This will also help you to, I don't want to say that there. I think I wanted to move that lower, okay? Because you can understand pain points here, but really you want to understand the interactions that happen between them, right? That's really what you want to do. The interaction between the business and the persona, or, your organization as a whole. This thing that the Scrum team's building and the persona. You want to understand all those interaction points, right? It's really, really important, right? So now you get those touch points. Then the next thing you should do is actually map the customer's journey. You have the points now, and now you want to outline the steps when that interacting with the business is happening. All the way from them being aware about it through them purchasing and beyond that, okay? And then even if they're considering whatever it is, right? Considering downloading it, purchasing whatever it's going to be. You also want to make sure you understand what they're thinking, how they feel. You want to get at the emotions of what's going on with them too, okay? Once you have that map, now you really can see the big picture. And in terms of seeing the big picture, you can start to identify gaps. opportunities that exist, also pain points that exist that you may be able to make life a little bit easier. Okay? Big pictures are always a beautiful thing. When you have the big picture of something, it just gives you a whole lot of insight. And having that insight is going to be really amazing for you as you build your map, right? Last but not least, you want to implement, test, and refine. Implement, test, and refine. Implement, test, and refine. You want to constantly go through that and go back and clean up some steps prior, but you're gathering feedback and you're adjusting accordingly. Grabbing feedback and adjusting accordingly. That's what you're doing again and again and again, right? Now, I'm going to show you one of the better maps that I found on the internet because I wasn't going to create a map. I haven't done one in a little bit of time, but I'm going to show you one of the better maps that I found on the internet. And this is the map right here, right? Hopefully you can see all this information. But this is from a website that's on the side, meganabowen.design/Spotify HTML. So you can go there and find that real easy. This is about Spotify, but I want you to see something that's really important here. See something that's really important. The scope. The scope is the music sharing experience. I am not talking about them just listening to some music. I'm really talking about the music sharing experience. So you gotta get that scope and you gotta limit that scope. Now, here's the deal. If you think about it, if I'm sharing music, I can make an assumption that there's probably 2 people involved in that interaction. So minimum, I'm probably gonna have 2 personas, right? I mean, I guess I can share with myself, but normal people. Anyway, the point is you're gonna probably have 2 personas in this situation. You gotta have a person that found something that they've enjoyed and wants to pass it on to somebody else. And that involvement, you have touch points there between both of them, right? So you wanna make sure that you understand those personas and then give each of them some type of backstory. Get all kinds of information, as much information as you can about them. This will help you in terms of you moving forward, okay? It will help you a whole lot in terms of you moving forward. So you want to make sure that you're thinking like that. That's what you're doing, right? So now, let's go back to it. When you think about this, here we go. Let me show it to you, okay? Then it's the stages that they go through. You know, again, what am I doing? I'm ultimately going to be defining these touch points. That's it. There's a place where they visit. This is where they open up Spotify on their phone. Okay? Then they listen. They browse for suggestions, discover stuff, choose from a playlist, whatever that's going to be, right? Then they discover. They're listening to a selected playlist. They discover a song that they like and enjoy. Then they share. Now, this is important right here because the share is where it moves from being about one person to being about multiple people. From one person to about multiple people because I have to share with someone, right? And if you just go down to where you see the touch points, you can see Spotify, Spotify, Spotify. But when we get to share, I got Spotify, then I got another interaction point of WhatsApp. Okay? So now I have this thing happening where it's likely that's the place that he's going to share it through, WhatsApp. So then they click on the 3 dots so they can, 3-dot menu next to the song. They select the share button in the drop-down menu and then copy the link and they send it to the persona, Grace, through WhatsApp. Okay? Great. There's certain thoughts that they have associated with each one of these steps. With each stage. Now, you can see those touch points. You can see the actors. So then you go on to the next step. Discuss. You ask Grace what she thought of the song, right? And there's another app involved here. Now I'm using a messenger app. Maybe this is on the iPhone now, or maybe this is, I'm going to say it's Android, right? I don't know, but there's some type of messaging app that I'm utilizing here, right? And so now I'm going in between having a conversation, maybe sending a text message, maybe on WhatsApp and Spotify. And then the next thing is receive, right? You receive a text message, You click on the link, they open Spotify, click on the shuffle playlist, boom. And now Grace is in control of that. And then Grace responds by opening up WhatsApp and responding that they like it or they don't like it. All that conversation is happening in WhatsApp at that point, right? Now there's, again, emotions, and you can see emotions at the very bottom in terms of how they're feeling at that particular time. There's also thoughts in the middle of the page. And so when you look at this, if I'm creating that map, right? I go back here. What do? I define my personas. Who's my personas? My persona is Grace and other guy. I got a guy here and I got Grace. So I define those personas. What am I going to do next? Identify touch points. Where are my touch points? Visit, listen, discover, share, let's see, discuss, receive the music, and then respond. These are my touch points. These are my touch points, right? Because every one of those touch points, I'm having an interaction with the business of Spotify. So when I visit, I'm opening Spotify on my phone. That's an interaction with Spotify. When I'm listening, I'm having an interaction with Spotify. When I'm discovering, interaction. And then when I share, I have an interaction on Spotify and WhatsApp, okay? So I'm incorporating all these touch points, right? Just to make sure we get through that user's journey of actually sharing, of music sharing experience. So really, really important steps there. And then what's the next step that's on the list? Map the customer's journey. So outline the steps that we're interacting with the business. So you can see those steps outlined. You can see them outlined at the top. You can see the steps that they go through spoken off right here. Every single step that they go through to go from, hey, I'm interested, I'm sharing, all the way through, I like it, I don't like it. All important steps here. So you see that there. What's that next one? Analyze the big picture. If I look at this big picture, what is something that I could be missing? Well, let me ask you all. What are some things that you think could be missing? When I have the big picture, I may be able to see some of those things. Like, for example, is WhatsApp the only place where I can communicate and share on? Maybe I want to share directly through my Apple device. Maybe I want to share through some other system, like maybe Facebook. I don't know what that right thing is, but I may want to share through some other platform. That could be a gap here. Or are we focused in on just the connection with WhatsApp? If we was only focused on that, I probably would say the music sharing experience between Spotify and WhatsApp. And then I have a different one for other types, okay? Which you can do. Again, what am I doing? Narrowing that scope, managing that scope, mapping that scope, setting the stage so everybody understands. So now, this right here gives you an excellent picture of where we stand. And once you build this, the final thing for you to do is to implement it, test, and refine. Implement it, test, and refine over and over again. You just keep doing that over and over again because you want the best of the best. You want them to see the best here. You want them to experience the best here, right? And so you want to keep making that better. You want to implement it, test, refine it. Refine it, refine it, refine it, refine it. You want to keep refining as much as you can so you have something better at the end. So, nothing really complicated about this thing whatsoever. It's just the music sharing experience. That's all it is. And how we're going to get through that, what those interaction points are, and then how we make it work for ourselves. How we make it work for ourselves. So, amazing topic. We're going to go ahead and start wrapping this topic up. Hopefully, you have a good understanding of a journey map. You've probably seen things similar to journey maps that exist around here. At least in the world that you work in, you probably have had some of that. Hopefully, this was helpful for you. But we're going to go ahead and move on past that topic. We'll make sure it's available for you later on, just in case you want to see it again. But, you'll be good to go. So, that being said, here's our next step. Our next step is to go ahead and do what? Open up the floor. What am I opening the floor for? For you all to ask questions now. So, at this point, whether it is about a journey map, or whether it's about something different. You are welcome to drop your questions in the chat, or you're welcome to come join me live on the show. If you want to join me live on the show, the link is going to be presented to you right now, okay? In case you want to join me on the show, okay? Putting on both LinkedIn and, let's see, yeah, I got it on LinkedIn and I have it on YouTube, so I got it in both places, okay? So, I'll say it to you once again. We're on the same page. Thank you. Just make sure you think about liking, subscribing, clicking the notification button. All those things are really, really important in terms of how we move forward. We have 1,060 people at this point. I never thought we'd make it above 1,000, but we have, and we continue to grow. On that note, any questions about anything that you all have, drop it in the chat, or come on and join me on the show. Always answer as many questions as I can within our time frame. You know, we finish early. I'm good with that too. Some people just come for the topic. Then we go from there. Patrick, what's going on, man? How you doing? We getting there. So, I had to fix my email. I didn't put my support email up like I was supposed to for the actual bankable event. Matter of fact, don't forget that. Bankable event, August 17th through the 19th. We're talking about turning your passion into profit. We'll be talking about entrepreneurship there. We will be talking about taking your skill set and making your skill set deadly, right? Or how you're going to skill up to make it daily, right? So I want you to know that's what's going to be happening August 17th through the 19th, 17th, 18th, 19th. All right, so Patrick, I'm good. See, Patrick is saying, how I'm doing? I'm doing good, brother. Nothing really crazy. Just doing well, right? So once again, you got a question, you are welcome to call in. I'm going to go ahead and set up my headset because if anybody called in, it's going to be difficult. So you hear that thing. That's actually someone calling in. So let's get it together. Let me get this all set up. Oh, they dropped. Maybe they decided to drop, but that's okay. Let me set up my headset because if I don't set the headset, then we'll have problems and we'll hear echo, right? So we're good to go. So they'll call back, I think. We'll see. I will say, and let me just let them know you're welcome to call in. All right, so let's see. Other than that, it's just been good, man. I'm just having a good time with this Agile stuff, right? I actually, today, with the CSP class, I began it with them training. Like, that was super dope, super fun, right? You put people on the spot, give them a topic and train. Go ahead and train, right? A lot of times when we are out here training in this world, we are talking to people who have less experience than us, right? But what happens when you're talking to people who have your experience, who know what you're talking about? Then what is it all about then? All right, so I have someone that's joining us here on the chat, so I'm going to go ahead and set it up so then she can join us. And let's see. Let's try to make this thing work. Hello. How you doing?
Hey, Devin, how are you?
I'm good. Your name is Amber, right?
Amber, yes. It's been a while since I've joined in, but I really needed your advice
Okay, all
on a
right.
few things. So I really just wanted to get in get in
Well,
there
you
and
got
ask
you got the
you.
hand movements happening and everything. I'm like, wait a minute, now. She done came in and she waxing on, waxing off. I'm like, I'm about to let you lead the show.
I got your energy today. Like I got that Monday energy.
This is a good thing. All right, so then what's your questions? Because you sound like you said questions. So what's your first question?
Well, I guess it's not just one question, but basically, if you want to just shed some light on this, so I, as a Scrum Master, have recently just entered a release management space. So I am now a release manager,
Okay.
and they are looking, my manager is looking to me to kind of, I guess, figure out what's going on with our Scrum teams and our Agile space. And so I guess the pain points that he's kind of expressed to me are just that, the JIRA stories aren't being done in the correct status. Everybody's just kind of working very differently. They just don't seem to have a lot of alignment. And I think that's messing with the release management process a lot. So there's just a lot of clashing there. And so, my question to you is like, how do I get in there? And I don't want to overstep. I don't want to come in there and tell these agile coaches who have probably been doing this a lot longer than I have
Well,
what to do, right?
well, here's a
So,
question. Here's a
what's the,
question for you. So
yeah,
let me step back a little bit, right? I had to
sure.
get the echo out because you were echoing because I forgot to take you off speaker. So now I don't fix that problem. So when you say you were a scrum master, okay, and they move you to do the release management stuff, so now you're a release manager, right?
Different
Now,
companies, by the way. Yeah,
different companies, okay?
yeah,
Now, I'm assuming that when you say release management, you're talking about the technical part of delivering, the technical part of
right.
getting the stuff out the door. So that means you have experience with that, okay?
Correct. Yeah.
So now, here's my question for you. What problems are the coaches giving to you, scrum masters and coaches in general?
Um, well, this is just like a fairly new position that I just joined. So I
Hmm.
do have a meeting with them tomorrow. And so I have a meeting with one of the coaches tomorrow
Hmm.
who's in
Okay.
charge of the Scrum teams. And so I I just don't know, like, obviously I'm just going to get in there and just kind of ask him what their processes are, what workflows, if any, how are they coaching, how are they mentoring? Like, I just kind of want to pick their brain and just see where they're at.
Okay. So,
But I
well, let
also
me let
want to
me.
come in there and ask them some questions and see, like, where the misalignment could be.
Okay. Well, let's just start in the first place, right? The first thing I would say to you is there's a clear delineation of responsibility. You have responsibility for a certain set of stuff, right? And they have responsibility for the process stuff, right? I'm
Sure.
assuming that release stuff is your stuff and the process stuff is their stuff. And
Yeah,
obviously, you guys got to work together to some degree. But
exactly.
here's the problem that you have. You have the problem of needing to meet the needs of the organization. And the truth of the matter is, you can almost look at the Scrum teams as your customer because they're kind of like your user of the release management process because they need you to get things out the door. You're the gatekeeper
Exactly.
to some degree, right? And
Right.
so, what I would be more curious about in terms of the processes that they're doing is what type of engineering processes are they doing that impacts releases? So obviously continuous integration. Obviously, are they doing automated testing to some degree? Obviously, how they're, combining things and all this other stuff that has impact on you in terms of your job, right? If they're
Right.
releasing once a month, then you just got a big bunch of stuff to do around that once a month time frame. If they're releasing every day, then they obviously got tools in place that can help with that, right?
Right.
So if I'm you, are you the only release manager in the building?
No, I am
Okay,
one of four. So,
great,
but they're
great.
just, yeah, they just know that I have that Scrum background. And so they're looking to me to fill the holes, basically. And our Jira stories are botched. I mean, the backlog is a mess. Like all
Hmm.
of Jira is a mess. So, they kind of just want me to get in there and we kind of have like these brown bag sessions that my manager started every Friday,
Hmm.
or sorry, once a month on Fridays. And basically people can kind of come there and rant about their issues and things like that. And the CEO of the company is like very supportive of these brown bag sessions. So my manager wants me to come in and maybe help simplify the process a little bit.
Okay.
And
All right.
maybe
So
kind of
so
get them aligned. Yeah.
here's a question for you, right? So I go immediately to lean because if I'm you, I would think one piece flow or one requirement flow from thought all the way through how they get things out the door today. Always start with current state, where you at currently, and then try to change and adjust things to move towards something in the future. So when you look at it today, you say to yourself, how do you flow one requirement all the way from a beginning to an ending in your regular process? And how do you do that when it's an emergency? Because obviously, when emergencies happen, they skip everything, right? So, and
Yeah.
there's gonna be a delta between the two, and
Sure.
realistically, what they're asking you to do is to make that delta smaller and smaller and smaller. Does that make sense? Just
Okay.
make it smaller, right? And so, but you have to have an understanding of current state. But in understanding current state, you need to understand how things flow from thought all the way through, right? That would
Okay.
give you a great idea of what you need to do, or at least what you're battling with, right? Then you need to get the vision of what the powers that be expect you release managers to make things in a future state.
Okay.
Only reason why I say that to you is now you understand you're setting goalposts now. Okay,
Hmm.
here's the current state. Here's where you want us to get to in the future. And now, if it's difficult to get there, you know that you can take baby steps to get there. Because if they're saying to themselves, okay, we do all manual testing, we want to do continuous integration, but we want to do continuous delivery tomorrow, you know that's probably not going to happen, right?
Right.
But could you take a step in the right direction? You probably could start to take steps in the right direction. But it's important for you to understand current state so then you can determine where you're going for future state. Okay? But remember, you're not only there to work for the scrum teams, you're there to work for the organization. There's reasons
Exactly.
why organization puts release managers in place. Y'all become the gatekeeper to get things out the door because they messed up some stuff in the past usually. And they could have messed up stuff really, really bad. So if
Right.
I'm you, I would be more in a listening place. I would be more trying to get information from them without me giving them much information. Does that
Okay.
make sense? I would be trying to
Yeah.
understand more than trying to give out information. Because here's the deal. You go in and you have a conversation with the coach tomorrow. You can have a million and one ideas, but you don't know if those other release managers have tried that.
Exactly. Yeah, and I don't think anybody has tried that, only because the reason that they brought me on board to begin with was because I do have that Scrum background. And this is just everybody on my team is so release focused that
Okay.
they were like, oh, at least she comes from the Scrum side. We can teach her the release stuff, but they're looking to me to make this process a little bit easier, because he thinks, my manager thinks that he's just not asking the right questions. Maybe he's just not understanding the processes as clearly. So he's kind of looking to me for that direction on building that,
Yeah.
building that
You
bridge. Yeah.
you'll be able to build a better bridge by understanding where they are current state. You go in
Okay.
like a bull in a china shop, like you're gonna change everything, you might create some quick enemies. So what you
Yeah.
really want to do is understand current state, respect where people are at currently,
Hmm.
and then use that to help the change happen.
Okay.
And I even though my manager wants me to do X, Y, and Z, I still would give my other colleagues the respect of asking them, what have you tried?
Right.
What have you tried to
100%. Yeah.
do something different? Right? Because
Yeah.
you
I
want
definitely don't want to come in there and like overstep, or,
you don't want
that's
to
why I came
overstep.
here. I was like, I
Yeah,
need
you don't
like
want to
help on
overstep.
how to do this.
No, you
Yeah.
just slow down. Don't be in such a rush. Understand the lay of the land, and
Okay.
then get with your people, right? And the only reason why I say that is because you can be the you can be the person that's doing things really different, and that could be amazing. But you could also be the person that's doing things really different and everybody hates you.
That's
And
true. Yeah.
you don't want to be that person walking through the door unless you were hired specifically to be that person. Does that make sense?
Right.
That's how you
Yeah.
set yourself up for a lot of resistance in the very beginning. And people normally resist change, and you're going to need to make friends first.
Right.
So if I'm you, I'm building relationships. I'm understanding what people's pains are. I'm going in with a whole ton of empathy. I'm not telling people that they've done anything wrong, right?
Right.
I'm going to tell people, hey, if it ain't right today, that's okay. We've been doing it the best way we've been doing it. Let's do something to make it better in the future. We ain't got to do that today. It ain't got to be tomorrow, but let's work on that together. So I would come in and I would be like, hey, you know what? I may be the expert at Scrum when it comes to release management, but you're the expert in this organization and how this organization works. And I don't have that knowledge. So you need to just go ahead and ease yourself into the path. It's almost like you're going in as a consultant and you're understanding that current state so then you can figure out how to get to the future state. So it's very, 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 very important. It is important that you take those kind of steps. I see Patrick here says stakeholder management, a RACI chart. I agree with all that stuff, right? Because you're going to be managing stakeholders all over the place. You need to make sure what your responsibilities are versus other people's responsibilities. But here's a statement I'm going to make to you. When it comes to release management and Scrum says nothing about release management. You know
Exactly.
that,
Yeah.
right? So
Yeah.
you have to make sure now you're talking to those coaches, and those coaches know that Scrum says nothing about release management. Now,
100%.
your
Yeah.
release management people may not know that, but what you need to get your release management people to understand is the spirit of Agile. Put Scrum to the side for a second because they're probably thinking 2 week sprints. This is crazy. How do I
Yeah.
get this done? No, no, no. You need to get them to start thinking in a spirit of Agile, right? About technical excellence, about sustainable pace, right? About agility being supported by the things that we do. And in order for teams to get faster, we have to build things or do things in a certain way that would help them have more agility. You have to do those things, and you do those things in small little steps. So if I'm you, I'm thinking, yeah, I know Scrum, I expect Scrum, but probably what you're dealing with more is a cultural change more than anything
Sure.
else, right? Is making sure they
Right.
make those smaller little adjustments along the way. So when I look at it, it sounds like an exciting opportunity. It sounds like a good place for you to start real clean and really just start to just make small changes over time. You're going to have some resistance in some things. You're going to have your management group that may not be ready to go. But the idea is that you just start making those little changes. You start making those little changes. But the first thing you got to understand, Amber, is current state. You have to understand what people are. You got to respect where they are and then start to make changes, but make sure you incorporate your colleagues in those ideas. Make sure your colleagues know as well so you can help make them better because otherwise you will end up fighting with them on the ideas that you have that's going to help support the agility that exists. Does that make
Right.
sense?
100%. Yeah. And so, I think it's great that you mentioned just creating that relationship with
The relationship is the
the
most important.
coaches, and then
Hmm.
this will help me incorporate those ideas, or,
Yeah.
give my feedback. That's great. I just was like so overwhelmed with that
Yeah, don't
request.
you got it. You got it. It ain't nothing to be overwhelmed by. You got it. Yeah, and here's how I know you got it because here's the deal. Here's the truth. They got to go through you. So it's important for them to create a relationship with you because when something
Exactly.
goes wrong, they're going to come to you and say, "Hey, I need you to do this to get this out the door." And you know how Scrum teams are. They will sit up there and make a plan, not let nobody know about the plan, and then next thing you
Right.
know, it's about time to release and they're like, "We need your help."
Right.
You
exactly.
got to build those
Yeah,
relationships with them.
I have to keep really close relationships with them, especially in regards to the releases. Yeah.
Yeah.
But I think
And
this will
then
be good. I mean, oh, sorry, go ahead. Go ahead.
what I would also say is see if you can come to some sprint plannings. And I specifically
That is
say sprint
actually an
planning.
idea I had.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Go to some
So,
sprint plannings. Um, go to some sprint reviews. So if you go to a sprint
yeah,
planning, go to a sprint
yeah,
review. Yeah, obviously no
yeah,
retros. You don't need to go to the daily scrums unless they need you to be involved in something. Um, but I would definitely be listening in sprint reviews for some teams and then coming to the review because you want to see how they started, how they end, see how they plan. And it's not one of those things where sometimes you need to understand what's coming down the pipe. Yes, right? But
right,
you have tools that should help you with that. So I'm assuming that they're using Jira or something like that. And whatever they're using, the tools should be able to tell you what's getting closer and closer to you needing to be
right,
concerned, right? But beyond
right,
that, you showing your face is going to help you build those relationships. You showing your
right,
face is going to help you understand how scrum butt they are, how much they're truly following the processes versus not following the process. And you do that, you're going to put yourself you're going to put yourself in a position where you have a lot of favor, right? Then the other side of the equation is make sure you spend time with the other release managers. It's
yeah,
important for you to create a strong relationship with them as well.
yeah. We are a very strong team, and my manager is very supportive, and
Hmm.
um, he's awesome. Like
Yeah.
he's super amazing. So, he's all about the team. He's all about, letting
Hmm.
people's voices be heard, and so I think all this is really great. It's funny that you mentioned sprint reviews and sprint planning because I definitely did suggest that, and he was one thing he did suggest. So right now, what we're doing is we're kind of assigned to a scope, and so I work not specifically with XYZ Scrum Masters every time. Do you think it would be more beneficial for us to be maybe assigned to certain Scrum teams, or what do you think would be like? What do you think about that?
If you're assigned to certain scrum teams, okay, then you're just doing the work of the scrum team. Okay, so understandable. Them assigning you to certain scope means that, and I'm thinking larger scope, like a big this type of product, right? Um, that allows you to gain a bunch of deeper domain knowledge by being specific to that scope. So it's like, do you need to be closer to? Do you need to have a better? Do you need to understand the scope more, or do you need to have a better relationship with the teams? That's the difference between the two, right?
Okay.
Um, and so, which one is better for you? I don't think either one of them is better for you. I wouldn't say this one is better than the other one because what I would say is that you want your skill to be on the development team, to be a part of the
Mm-hmm.
developers. So I would want your skill to be a part of the developers where they can take things to production every 45 seconds. But y'all aren't
Right.
there yet. You're not there
Right.
yet. And you may
Right.
never get there because it might be this is the stage gate that we need to have because this is where we feel comfortable. There's lots of companies that will always have teams of release managers because they're not going to let their developers just go straight to production. Okay?
Sure.
And so if you're going to be the stage keeper, you're going to be the person that holds the door right there. Okay? I can't complain about being aligned with scope. I can't because that is if you're aligned with scope, that means you have a better idea of the nuances of the product, and they can easily associate you with that. If you have a scrum team, if you have two different scrum teams that ends up impacting that scope, and you were on one of those scrum teams, and the other one had another release manager on that scrum team, y'all collectively have an idea of how that impact to the scope is, but
Right.
unless you're sharing across to each other, you don't know. So I don't have any complaints with how they're doing it. What
Okay.
I would do though is how I would think about this is if you're going to change it, what are you trying to get in terms of a benefit from changing it?
Hmm.
That would be the real question. Are you trying to increase speed, efficiency? Um, is it better in terms of supporting the product overall if you know the scope and have an idea around this product? Um,
Yeah.
I would be thinking about metrics and what we're trying to measure and why these things are important. And if you want to change that, make sure that you're driving toward a metric and it's not something that you are just saying we're doing for the sake of doing. So there's no wrong way of doing it where you're at because you have a whole separate set of developers. You have a whole
Right.
separate set of release managers. So
Yeah.
I can't say you're doing it wrong.
Yeah. We have currently we have like one enterprise release on
Hmm.
a third Saturday of the month, and then we have weekly releases.
Hmm.
And so that's kind of why we take that scope as like I'm a part of the August 8th release. And so all my release planning kind of starts 3 weeks before that. And then we kind of
Hmm.
go through the process and then I hit the release on August 8th. So that's
So
kind
that
of how they
helps
and they
you.
used to yeah,
That helps you. That helps
yeah,
you manage. That helps manage work life balance for you all, right?
yeah,
And so I understand it. I don't have any. I really don't have any complaints about it. I wouldn't change it unless you see that it's a problem.
yeah,
Because the way I would want to change it is by putting a release skill on the team, and they're not trying to
yeah.
do that yet.
I think just the thing is, we work out of Jira currently, and a lot of these like Scrum Masters, I just feel like they're all on their statuses on their Jira stories are it's just a mess. Like Jira is just it's a hot mess pretty much. And we need Jira in order to
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
determine who's going to be a part of the release, right? And so I think that's and I think like, my managers just had this conversation one too many times with them, and something is just getting lost in translation with them. And he's just
Okay.
looking to me again to come in and just like build that bridge. So
Here's the secret
um
words. The secret words for you going in is piloting something. You want to pilot something that's going to allow you to see a cleaner um, through line from when they write a requirement through statusing through releasing. So
right.
you want to run a small experiment. It could be you
Okay.
pick it, like you think about your scope. You have a certain scope, and I would go all the way through the scope back to the beginning of who's taking on those requirements in a particular
Right.
sprint. And I would work with the agile coaches and say, hey, I have an idea. I want to make it easier for us to release, but in order to do that, we need to do these things. Can we try it?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
then
And I
if
mean
you're able to
again
get them to
like
try it, you'll be good.
yeah, with multiple scrum teams, I mean, would that be me attending different sprint
No, 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 no,
reviews?
no,
Is
no, no.
that
Understand? No.
just a
It
one
is
time?
it
Okay.
is you working with one scrum team first
Okay.
to help clean up the scope. The reason why I say that is because once you do that, you have an example that you can show everybody else.
Right.
And now that's working fine. You've gotten that to work fine. And now everybody else can rinse and repeat.
Right.
Does that make sense? Don't try to
Yeah.
change everything at one time because if you try to change everything at one time, guess what's going to happen?
It's gonna backfire.
It's going to be a disaster. So just one.
Yeah.
Just one. Yeah,
This is great. This is all great. Thank you so much. I'm definitely going
not a problem.
to yeah, I'm going to propose all this to my manager and have a conversation with them and have that
Yeah.
conversation with the agile coaches tomorrow, and then, I'll report back. I'll
Yeah,
jump on
please
the call
report back.
again and
But when you talk to them, do yourself a favor. You can talk about them all, but only try a few things at a time. because you want
Okay.
to know where the change is coming from. Does that make
Right.
sense? If you change
100%.
everything and it's successful, then you just don't know where the change came from. So only try a few things at a time, okay?
Okay. That sounds good. And do I need to like ask them any particular questions or just kind of let him do the talking and just see where they're at?
I would see where they're at. I
Just see
would
where
see
they're
where
at.
they're at.
Okay.
Yeah. There's no particular questions because your questions are going to be based on where they're at. Okay.
100%.
Then you're
Okay,
excellent,
cool.
Amber.
Thank you.
Well,
Thank
thank
you
you
so
so
much.
much. And make sure you come back in a few weeks and talk to me about it.
I definitely will. Yeah, this is going to be, I mean, it's just, this is like my side project, and then I'm also trying to learn release. So
No,
it's a
you're
lot.
good.
It's
It's a
it's a
lot, but that's
lot. Like
okay.
I'm
Look,
overwhelmed.
Amber, let me tell
Yeah.
you something. I decided to go to school to get a PhD. So you can only imagine.
I'm not there
All right, Amber.
yet. Thank you so much, Evan.
You have a good one. We'll talk soon. All right, so that was excellent. So here's the deal. I got one more here, so we're gonna jump in with our next person, um, with Miss Grace here. Come on in and join us. Hey, how you doing there?
I'm fine. How are you? Can you hear
I,
me?
I'm I'm trying to be good. I can hear you just fine. I can hear you
Okay.
just fine. So, what's going on with you?
Everything and nothing at all. But journey mapping is interesting because I am moving forward in the digital transformation space.
Did you see the show
Um,
earlier today?
no, I didn't. I
Girl,
didn't.
yeah, you sent me the request about journey mapping, and you know what I
Yes.
talked about today?
Oh, you mean
I
this
talked
show in
about
the
journey
past
mapping.
58 minutes? I've been
I
on the
talked
show.
I talked about journey mapping
Okay,
today.
yeah. No, this show, I thought you meant something before the
Oh,
show.
okay,
I've been on since you
okay,
started. I was
okay, all right.
for
I'm making sure.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I even heard when you had Grace as one of the personas. So
Yeah.
thank you for
So
that.
there we go. So that makes
But
it work, right?
yeah, it works perfectly. And I wanted to get your perspective on intersection with journey mapping and digital
Okay.
transformation. And I had sent you a link to the article I wrote about why digital transformations fail from my perspective. It's not about,
Hmm.
all this white paper type research. But when you are starting with an
Hmm.
organization, whether new department, same company, new client, whatever, and they're saying, okay, what do we do? I want to be able to say, have you had any connection to your customer? And I think journey mapping is one of the things that would be critical to baseline how you're interacting with your customer and the product, how they're feeling, thinking, how they're using it. Is your
Hmm.
business enabled to add value to them at all those touch points? And then do all of your value stream analysis related to those touch points and all the processes that go behind having the touch point available and figuring out how you can lean out those processes. I'm thinking about Six Sigma, but ultimately integrating the digital transformation changes aligned to the customer journey. And I don't really hear much talk about that. So that's me kind of being long winded because I'm stating an opinion
Hmm.
while I'm asking a question. But
Yeah.
really, what do you think about integrating those two? Because most people see digital transformation as just roll out of tools and making sure people adopt it. And that's the end of it.
So I think journey mapping is amazing, right? I think it's a great tool. I think it's underutilized, for sure. But if I was to say to you, what do I believe will get the business charged up about a digital transformation is the potential impact of return on investment. I wouldn't start with journey mapping. It's just a tool that exists. Digital transformations is tools that exist. What the business is trying to do is they're trying to get more something for the money that they're spending, for the time that they're spending. If you're able to speak to them, and every Grace, every organization that I go to, when I talk return on investment, they listen because that's at the core of what they're trying to do. And so I can bring in journey mapping. I can bring in any tools that's going to help us to understand those things better. But the tool isn't the language you want to speak to them on. You want to speak to them in a language that makes sense to them. And that language is we're in the business of making money. So how we gonna make some money. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it makes sense. I was more thinking along the lines of have you even connected to your customer? Because that would be return on investment in terms of customer lifetime value. How much is your customer worth and how much
Yeah,
attrition
that's
have you
cool.
had,
But they already
you know?
connect with their customer. You're not going to businesses that's broke because they couldn't pay you, right? So that's the first
Uh,
statement. So you you know, this is like me walking in the Chase and saying, "Hey, let me see how you connect with your customer." They already connect with their customer. Why do they need that at all? They don't have any reason. Like me, I'm not Chase. I'm not Chase. Chase has been extremely successful for many years. So I'm going to come in and tell you how to change the way you do business without giving you a real justification of something that you're concerned about. You have to give them a catalyst, Grace, and a catalyst in a language that they speak. It doesn't matter what the tool is because you can use a different you can use user story maps to accomplish the same goal, roughly, right? And so it doesn't matter what all these tools are, it matters that you get them to listen to you. And that's the biggest key. You want them to listen to you because the tools is just a way to get there. But what are they
Okay.
trying to get to? Most companies, let's be real honest, right? Most companies don't care to listen because they're already being successful. The companies that are really willing to listen are the ones that are going out of business and they ain't got money to pay you. So
Yeah.
realistically, most of the companies that would be bringing you in, Grace, to do any consulting whatsoever, don't have a true catalyst for change. You just got to remember that. They don't have a true catalyst for change. Business is classically going fine for them. They're not about to go out of business tomorrow. So you got to remember they don't have a true catalyst for change. And even if they're not connecting with the customer in the best way, they are connecting in some kind of way because otherwise they wouldn't exist. And so I want you to be real careful about something that I ran into when I first started off in this agile thing. You know, when I went to in 2007, I was at USAA, and there was a bunch of agile coaches that came into USAA, company around since 1922. Okay, they're around since 1922, and they're going and telling executives you're doing things wrong. They hired 15 coaches. They can pay the money for 15 agile coaches and everybody else in the building. And without you knowing our business, you're coming in and saying you're doing something wrong. You're going to immediately turn them off.
Okay. So
That's where
even
you
if you
got
know,
to be careful.
basically keep it to yourself, because I've seen companies be subsidized by a cash cow, P&L, but other areas of the business are failing. So it's not necessarily
Hmm.
that they're overall successful, but they have one shining star, and that subsidizes all the inefficiencies. But you're saying even if they need to do it, ask maybe how are they connecting and maybe
Connect with them
improve
on the return on investment for the other things first,
first. Okay.
because that's the language that they speak. Is is
Yeah.
is you got to go in, and if I'm speaking English, you got to speak English to me. You can't
Okay.
go in speaking about tools and other things because I just don't hear that. And so, what you need to understand is take a step back. If it was your business, you would probably be thinking return. If it was your business and you wasn't a small business, let's say you had 1,000 employees, right? If somebody came to you and said, I got a tool that's going to help you better connect with your customers, well, you already got customers. You're already having success. So then show me proof on what this tool is going to do. I'm probably not going to listen to you. No, what
Yeah.
I want to know is how is it going to transform my business? I don't care
Okay.
about the tool. I don't care. Uh, Grace, you know just as well as I do, companies could care less about Scrum and Agile.
Yeah.
They want the result. That makes sense? So always try to get at the bottom line for them. Not just, I'm going to get you more customers, but look, you know what? You got these lines of businesses over here that are failing. This line of business is focused on just keeping the lights on. There's a way that we can actually decrease your cost by 25% over there. They hear that.
Yeah.
And you know, one of the tools that we can utilize to do that is mapping the journey of the users that exist inside the organization that's doing that particular process.
So bring it up, but bring it up after. Kind of like second date convo, not first date.
Bring it up, bring it up, bring it up after you sold them on trying to get more return on investment, on
Yeah.
trying to get more of what they're trying to get, because then they're more willing to listen. They're not
Okay.
usually willing to. If you got people in that's already done it, you know, um, and already done this agile thing, and they already have sold this idea, then it's easier for you to walk through the door. But if you don't have people that have done that and you're the first one that's doing it, the classic thing that they're listening to is going to be, hey, return on investment.
Yeah.
Now, a lot of times when I go into an organization and I'm dealing with the highest up people, and I'm just going in to do the agile thing, I can go straight to the agile stuff because other people have done that stuff already. They have the business case, they got this, they got that, right? If you're talking about from that perspective, then yeah, you can introduce the tool immediately because all that other stuff has been done. Does that make sense, Grace?
Yeah, and I'm really more resonating where you said they are in
Yeah,
business because they have customers. But you see things like even Bed Bath and Beyond, they seem too big to fail. But in 13 days they will no longer exist. So it does happen, and
it
somebody
does.
dropped the ball somewhere along the line. So I
It
thought
does.
when you're talking about digitally transforming, you're saying how is that going to help the customer experience? Because that's ultimately why you're in business and why you have these customers. And
Hmm.
that is an extrapolation of the journey mapping. Because if you don't know their experiences, how are you going to improve the experiences digitally? So that is where the question originated from. But
I'd
to
agree
your
with you.
point, they may think you are stupid because if they're a multi-billion dollar, Fortune 100, whatever company, they'll say, obviously, we have a lot of money to pay for your expertise, so don't come at us with customer journey
So,
maps.
so we
It
got
turns
a
out
customer.
it's less valuable, but it
Yeah,
can be done later on, not as
it
an
can be done.
initial.
It can be done anytime. You want to present, and again, this could be different for different companies, right? It depends on what kind of access you have. It depends on what kind of people you're talking about. It depends on how amiable they are to these things. But the idea is that a lot of these things that we talk about in terms of Scrum, business people don't care about. They literally don't care. Now, who would you win in that situation? You win with UX people. Like if you're talking to a UX person is all day, every day going to want to talk about anything related to the customer. All day, every day, right? Now you got to connect them to the digital transformation. They'll be excited about that. But now you're talking about people that's on the ground. You can have those conversations with two people on the ground. But if you're going into a company talking about you're doing business wrong, that might be a little bit more difficult.
Yeah. Well, thank you for the nuggets. Very helpful. I
Yeah,
always
no,
like your.
and just make sure that and when I say this to you, Grace, I say this to you from a business owner perspective, and it depends on who you're talking to. You got to be talking to the right gatekeeper to some degree. Team level, hey, we could talk about these tools all day. But you're going higher than team, the people who don't have that interaction every day with team, they're like, we sell things. What are you talking about?
Yeah. What you talking about,
You know?
Willis?
Yeah,
Yeah.
and that's what you run into. So just know your audience, know who you're dealing with, and have the right message for them. Okay. And the reason why I say that to you, one of the biggest reasons why I say that to you, I was at a client last week and talking to management, agile overview between both of them, management and teams on the ground, completely different conversations, completely different. Down on the team level, things like Jira came up, tools came up. With the higher ups, we didn't talk about no tools at all. We were talking about culture. We were talking about what it was going to take to implement. It went to return on investment. It went to things that they're concerned about at that level. They have way different things they got to be concerned about and report. So I literally, same Scrum document is being presented. Same Scrum document, same thing. both conversations were completely different. And to make it so bad is I had a person that was in both of the classes, and they're the ones that brought that up and said, yeah, it was completely different this morning than what it was this afternoon. Completely different. But you
Yeah.
got to be aware of that audience and bring up those tools at the right time for the audience. Otherwise, people just glaze over, and then they'll be respectful of you, but they're not gonna move with it.
Yeah. Cool beans. Thank you so much.
But Grace, your idea is a good idea though.
Yeah. Just keep it to the right moment.
Right audience for that idea. Okay.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
I
Thanks for the
love
time.
I love you, Grace, because
The
you wanna
same here.
you know what you wanna change the world, and you know what, Grace, you want to change the
Incremental.
world by saying to them, look, we gonna do this. We just gonna do this. I love it.
If
It's a
only.
lot of energy.
Another
I
time. Thank
appreciate
you.
you, Grace.
All
Have a
right.
good
Take
one.
care. You too. Bye.
Bye bye. All right, y'all. We're here. We're here a little longer than expected, but I had to take Grace. She's the one that came with the journey mapping thing, right? And I'm gonna say to you all, make sure that you consider your audience, right? I see. I don't know if Patrick's gone, but the best line to say is, "There's no way I can know your business like you do, but I can observe and try to grasp uh, the way it works quickly, and then we can figure out ways to improve the process." I agree with that as well. It's just you want to make sure that you have the right audience. The right audience is key. If you're not talking to the right audience, your message will not resonate. So you got to make sure you're doing that. All right, y'all. This is always a pleasure. This is always fun. Somebody asked me, what am I getting my PhD in? Industrial Organizational Psychology. I have a PSM and CSM certs. What are your thoughts on being a Scrum Master and going for the PMP? I would go and get my PMP. I have a PMP. Go get the PMP. It's a top 10 IT certification. It's been that way for the past 20 years. Does the Scrum team and customers do this activity together? How long does it take typically? Oh, if you're talking about a journey map, the Scrum team can work on this, but you really want people who have an understanding of the user journey. And when you say the Scrum team, I'm thinking developers involved with that, the Scrum Master, but it should be the product owner leading that with stakeholders who understand the user journey. You can involve other parties, but you need people who understand the user journey more than anything else. And depends on the thing that you're trying to do. If you're doing a really big process, it could take a long time. So just make sure that your scope, your map has some scope. Okay, make sure your map has some scope. So that's really important. So when I showed you this map at the very top here, it says the music sharing experience. That's a very small scope. So you want to make sure that scope is small so you're not spending all day trying to do everything that exists. Okay. And I think that was it for the questions. I'll do one more double check. Double check. Yeah. That's it for the questions. So, hey, you all, this has been a pleasure as usual. Patrick, thank you. Next week, I don't know what we're talking about, but I'll send it out early enough for us to get it. And, this information to be on YouTube. So, look, I appreciate y'all. Y'all have an amazing evening. And I'll see you next week, same time. Enjoy your week, though. Enjoy your week. Have a great week. Make everybody proud, man. I'll see you all on the journey. Bye bye.